All right, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to G.W.R. Gonzo'S Wrestling Room, February 28, 2023. I'm Chris Gonzo'S, joined by Tony Gonzo'S. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Not too bad at all.
We're joined by a pro wrestler, promoter, trainer, Damian Cole. How's it going, Damian?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
No problem. I think Damian does it all. Have you refed?
I have refed. I've refed.
See, I told
Yeah,
you.
midget wrestling and Foxy boxing.
Oh, okay.
Wow, Foxy Boxing. That sounds kind of interesting.
I remember that.
That's the after hours. Hey, look, it was the cat. I don't see this guy ever, and the minute I'm on something, here he comes.
I'll let you go off and just make a chicken song.
What got you into pro wrestling?
Man, this is the lamest of all how I became a pro wrestler story. I did it because I was told I couldn't. I was 9 years old. First time I had cable TV. Had moved to St. Cloud, Florida from Shelbyville, Indiana. I didn't know anybody. And it was the first time we had cable TV. So I started watching the Turner stuff, all the WCW product, the NWA, Georgia Championship, World Class. And I was in a new school. It's funny, I just told this story to my 9-year-old. So I go to a new first day of fourth grade. I'm 9 years old. And you have to write that. What do I want to be when I grow up? And I thought I would be kind of cute and say I wanted to be a pro wrestler because I was newly infatuated with pro wrestling. Well, that led to my parents getting called in and me getting sent to the guidance counselor's office. And they all basically told me it was a really, really bad idea, that it was a dumb idea. The more they told me that it was a bad idea and that I should really think of a real career path, the more I wanted to do it. Does that make sense?
Well, you kind of cut out just a little bit at the end there.
Yep.
I said, does that make sense to you guys? Like I was told, like it was not a practical career path, and it made me want to do it more. And I became really, really infatuated with wrestling throughout my early teens. I fell out of love with wrestling by the time I hit high school, and then fell back in love with it right before I started training. 19 years old is when I started training. Had my first match at 20, and it was always one of those things. I loved doing it, but I never saw it being a career. Fast forward 23 years later. Hi, how you doing? I actually do make a living as a professional wrestler, promoter, and professional wrestling trainer.
Question: Who trained you?
I was trained by Chad Blade Ferguson, and with some help from Bobo Brazil Jr. Unfortunately, I was nowhere near ready when I started wrestling. I had some really good vets reach out to me and kind of put me on the right path. And a guy that doesn't get enough credit these days, superstar TJ Powers, really put his arm out and said, "Let me show you what you need to know, kid." He took me under his wing and really helped me in a lot of aspects. And I was about 8 to 10 years in when someone who is now a really, really good friend of mine set me down, and we had a conversation about wrestling psychology. And he said I was a joke. He said I didn't belong in the business, and blah, 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 blah. And we started working a program at a couple of different companies. And like one day, like a light bulb, like bing, wrestling psychology clicked with me, and that was all because of Hillbilly Jed.
Okay, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, Jed did not like me for a very long time.
I did want to go back to something you said when you said you got when you was young, 9 years old, got cable TV and got exposed to some of these shows. What wrestling group did you like the best?
I was
as
definitely
a kid?
I was an NWA kid. I did not like the WWF. I did not like the cartoony, over the top antics. You got to think that was the time frame of Bastion Booger and the Gobbledygooker. The Undertaker had just made his debut. It was cartoony. I didn't like the rock and wrestling era really either, but I wasn't super exposed to it because we didn't have TV when I was a kid. And I don't mean like we didn't have cable TV. I mean like we didn't even have TV.
All right.
But moving down to Florida was a game changer for me because we moved into these apartments that had complimentary cable, and I was being exposed to the massive immigration down there. I had friends that were Puerto Rican, I had friends that were Dominican, and they turned me on to Lucha Libre wrestling and showed us that they had like one family had a big satellite, and they would watch World Class from Texas. And so, yeah, I started to really get into like all forms of pro wrestling. And there was a time period from like 1989 to 1993 that my Friday, Saturday, and Sundays revolved around the Turner Networks and WCW programming. And like, I didn't do anything between the hours of like 6:05 and 8:05 on Friday night. And then you had the Saturday night 2-hour program. You had the Saturday morning program. You had the Sunday morning programming. Then you had World Class Wrestling on ESPN. Oh God! Like I literally did not move from the television on the weekends.
Yeah, I remember those times. I'm that kind of fan too. So I've been at it quite a bit longer than you. So I've been watching wrestling since the 70s. So
I started watching really heavily in like 88, 89. And it was, my dad liked wrestling. My dad liked to watch wrestling. He would take us, even before we moved to Florida, we would come to town to my grandparents' house, and my parents would do laundry at my grandma and grandpa's house on the weekends. And my dad would always find wrestling on like ESPN or what was it, live professional wrestling from the Omni in Atlanta before it was even WCW. And we'd watch that. But once we moved to Florida and my life started to revolve around pro wrestling, it was my mom that I watched wrestling with. My dad worked second shift then. And while mom would be making dinner, she would expect me to like yell the play-by-play into her.
okay.
So yeah, my mom and I really bonded over pro wrestling.
What year was it when you had, what year was it when you had your first, what year was it when you had your first match?
First match, 2001.
Okay.
Yeah, I started training a year prior to that. So yeah, I've been in and around the business for 23 years.
What was the hardest thing for you to learn in pro wrestling?
The hardest thing for me to learn, like physically?
Any of it. I mean, it could be the psychology. It could be physically.
It took me 10 years to get psychology.
Yeah.
Psychology and footwork are two things that to me now are extremely important. And at the academy where I coach, I preach, footwork and fundamentals because that's not what I had. I did not get that kind of training. I was taught how to bump and showed how to apply a few holds and was sent off into the wild to become a pro wrestler. And it was not good training.
What was so hard about the learning the psychology that maybe took you so long? Was there something that maybe
I was never explained that there was psychology. It was, here's how you do this move, here's how you do that move, here's how you take a bump and go out there and put it together. I was given a jigsaw puzzle with no instructions. It was after a couple of years I started to realize, because I won't say I got heat with anybody, but I definitely wasn't making any friends. And I said that's when at first it was a superstar TJ Powers that reached out to me. he was actually the first guy to book me outside of my comfort zone, outside of my hometown, 40-mile area, if you will. TJ set me down one night and he was like, "Hey, I got this great idea. We're going to do this, and I want to call you the comic book kid or some shit like that." And I'm like, "Nah, that's not for me." And looking back on it, I really wish I would have taken that advice and maybe given that gimmick or that character a shot, because the way TJ described it is kind of basically what you see of me now in the ring. It's
Okay.
it's definitely a fourth wall break. Someone that doesn't really realize he's a professional wrestler in the ring. But I wasn't ready to hear that at the time, and I thought I knew best, like we all young boys do. And excuse me, I got some in my eye. So, but TJ did, even because I shied away from his idea or his character, he didn't hold that against me. He still wanted me to get better. He still wanted to help me learn. And we were working a lot of shows together. We were both working Hoosier Pro at the time. I was working for Dice Man Ronnie Vegas's promotion. I was doing a lot of good stuff because of them. And like I said, I was doing some not so great stuff because I didn't really understand the psychology. I didn't understand the why of pro wrestling. And like I said, it was Hillbilly Jed that I had to work a program with him. And Jed, just like, I can't say that he did any one thing, or there was no one lesson. Just like one day it just clicked. It was like just one day it hit me why I need to do this or why I shouldn't do that.
You think that's still a big issue in pro wrestling today?
That is a huge issue in pro wrestling today. Is nobody uses psychology.
I think so too.
Everybody's out there getting their spots in and getting their shit in, and nobody explaining why we did that or why we didn't do that. And I don't mean I'm not going to sit up here with a microphone and lecture you on why. Wrestling is physical theater. Our bodies tell the story, and that story has to make sense. And I think a lot of these young guys, and I'm going to say, even guys my age that got into the business at the turn of the millennium, did not necessarily learn psychology. So
We'll put that up. Okay. Marcus had a question for you.
All right, who's my first opponent? My first match was 10 wrestlers, 10 of us versus the Highlander. This guy was billed as from the Scottish Highlands. He was close to 7 foot tall, 500 pounds. And his claim to fame, if you will, was he was an extra in one of the Highlander films. He was blind as a bat. Nicest guy ever. I never got his shoot name. But they had 10 of us in the ring versus this guy, and my first forte into pro wrestling was trying to attack this mountain of a man. And I just remember he caught me like a baby midair and dumped me over the top rope. And as I'm falling, he just kind of whispers, "Bye-bye." And I landed on the horse track below, and that was the debut of a young Damian Cole.
And Marcus also went on, where was that match?
That was Shelbyville, Indiana.
Okay.
May 19th, give or take, 2001. That was our debut show. That was the opening show, first show in Shelbyville since the ICW days. And myself and Tom and Troy Van Zant, Chris Icon, I believe Ricky Ruckus was on that show. A very, very, very young Jason Ayers refereed that night. So yeah, just crazy stuff.
Oh, what promotion was that for?
That was Midwestern Championship Wrestling, MCW, that later in time grew and evolved into New Era Wrestling.
Okay.
how long have you been promoting shows, and how long have you been training wrestlers?
I've been promoting shows since that very first show. Myself, the Van Zants, Bad Boy Bobby Black, Chris Icon, and I know there's a few others that founded Midwestern Championship Wrestling with the guidance of Bobo Brazil Jr. And I use guidance in some air quotes there. I love Bo, but he came around like show week, and that was about it. We started that. Excuse me. And after a year or two of running under the MCW banner, us younger guys decided we were going to kind of take the reins, and we're going to do it ourselves. And we changed the name to New Era Wrestling, and there was a name switch and a new attitude, if you will. So say 2002-ish, early 2003, that happened. And we ran for quite a while until, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag here, until I eventually bought out all the partners. The last remaining partner came to me and said, "This is what I want to buy me out." And I did. And I've been running New Era Wrestling behind the curtain, if you will, for almost 10 years now. And I started. What was that?
Is it a lot easier doing it by yourself than having partners?
It is, because I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to sit down at a table and argue for 4 hours about what we're going to do or discuss it. But the caveat to that, the downside of that is if it fails or if it flops, it's all me. It's all on my ass. It's all out of my pocket. And then you said the part two of that was, when did I start training wrestlers? I started training wrestlers just before I took the company over. My first trainee was also my tag team partner now, Aaron Abrams, Aaron Anarchy. He came to me at a show. I knew his then at the time girlfriend. She said, "This is my boyfriend, Aaron. He wants to train to be a pro wrestler." So I trained Aaron on the road. He would come and show up at my house at like 8:30 in the morning on a Saturday, and we would load up and go to the venue for that night, wherever I was booked. And Aaron would help them with setup and whatnot in exchange for some ring time, and I would work with him before shows. We went to the Dub for a while, going to WCWO on Friday nights just so I could get Aaron more ring time. I opened the New Era Academy just 5 short years ago. My first class through the academy was Jake Carter, Braden Lee, and Leon Lux. There were a host of other characters that did not make it, but those were the 3 that graduated that class.
That's a pretty good class.
They're not a bad class. Not bad. Yeah, Braden Lee doing a little something. Jake Carter, a little something for himself. Leon Lux, not as much. Not that Leon is any worse of a wrestler, but Leon's a family man. He's got wife, kids. Did not, much like I did. When I was younger, I did not make the towns, as they say. I didn't get out a whole lot. I had a really good shoot job that paid well, and I had a wife and children at home. I chose the more traditional, 40-miler, 60-miler route. Leon has actually just started coming back to the academy to help me with the current class on my Tuesdays and Thursday night. I think
how many guys you usually get? Maybe that start a class and then what's the ratio of that finish and graduate?
It is the law of diminishing returns. I'll walk you through the process of how I start a class. When I believe it's time to start another class, which means when the previous class is exited and nobody's coming back for just open ring time, I will announce that we're going to have an open house. And that is open to the public for 4 to 6 hours on a given night. The open house that we had for my current class, we had 35 people show up. 35 potential wrestling trainees. After about an hour of listening to me talk and explaining how I do things and why I do things the way I do them, we get in the ring for about 35, 40 minutes. Some people have never been in a wrestling ring. Some guys, the minute they get in there, if they were skeptical before, nope, now they want to do it. Or they got in there, they take one bump, they're like, nope, this sucks, not for me. At the end of the open house, I set a date for what we would call orientation. We went from 35 people at the open house to 12 at orientation. At the end of orientation, the first day, if you will, I say we're going to report back to the facility in 2 weeks for day one, week one of training. 4 showed up. 35, 12, 4.
And out of those 4, did all 4 of them make stick with it and make it through their training?
Well, out of those 4, that class is my current class. That class, the fall class of 2022, started with 4 people. They are on week 13, and all 4 of them are still with me. So that's pretty good.
Is that about how you see maybe the numbers break down for most of your classes? You'll get a big number and then it really
my Tuesday, Thursday kids, my 40-week kids, they started out at 6 and they're at 5. Their open house was like 12. Orientation was 8. Class was 6. And they're 40 weeks in. Those kids just had their in-ring debut back at Headlocks and Heartbreaks, and all 5 of the kids that have stuck with it made their debut. So I can't complain.
No. What's in your opinion the hardest thing to teach as a trainer in pro wrestling?
To slow down. Everybody wants or thinks we got to get in there and run as fast as we can, go as fast as we can, got to get my stuff and boom, boom, boom. No, slow down. Less is more. God, I'm starting to sound like one of the old guys.
That's something you hear. I mean, we've heard a lot just by talking to some of the older guys and some of the guys in the business now is exactly what you said. Slow down.
Very consistent. I listened to Busted Open and listened to Bully Ray, who owns his own school, I think in Connecticut, and he says exactly what you just said. Slow down and less is more.
It's funny you mentioned that. When I first started, I was looking for inspiration, if you will, and I came across the Team 3D Wrestling School. And I watched some of their footage and some of their training stuff. And I had already done some time at the Monster Factory with Danny Cage. I did a 3-day super camp, and I tell this, and I'll stray away from my story for just a second here. If you're a young wrestler and you get a chance to go out to the Monster Factory in New Jersey and sit underneath the learning tree that is Danny Cage, do yourself a favor and do it. I was there for 3 days with Donnie Idol. Everybody knows Donnie Idol from Emerge Wrestling. Donnie Idol and I went. I had just had a stroke. I was non-physical. It's a semester of college in 3 days. I filled a composition notebook with notes from the guys that were at that super camp. And I came home from New Jersey with the new plan, if you will, and I put pen to paper and I started devising my lesson plan and how I wanted to train people and what I wanted to do, what I was taking from Danny, what I took from Bill DeMott, what I took from Les Thatcher while I was there. And that first class that I put together after my visit to the Monster Factory was the Braden Lee, Jake Carter, Leon Lux class. So yeah.
Hardest.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to ask the hardest thing about being a promoter.
Hardest thing about being a promoter? Telling people no. I don't care if it's somebody you don't like or if it's a good friend of yours. Nobody likes to be the guy to tell you no. So when my phone starts blowing up, hey man, my booking canceled. Can you get me on? You got room for me? The hardest thing is to say no. And I guess I have a bit of a reputation for saying no relatively easily, but it still sucks. It sucks every time I got to tell somebody no, because I know how much it sucks to be told, no, I don't need you on this show, or no, we're full up.
Have you lost any friendships?
The promoter's the bad guy. He's the guy that's got to watch the bottom line. If I had an infinite, pocketbook, yeah, we'd have a 25 match show and would book everybody and their brother, and we'd all do all the crazy stuff. But we got to put on it somewhere.
Have you lost any friendships having to tell people no?
No, I've never lost a friendship over telling somebody no. I have lost friends in this business, but not because I told them no.
Favorite wrestling move, and also there could be a move that you just like that you've seen somebody else do, or that you do, and also a wrestling move that you just dislike taking, or just think it's a dumb move.
Oh man, a favorite wrestling move. Okay. I'll be honest. It's dated, and the first time I saw Sting do the Scorpion Death Drop, that move just blew my mind. And it was so simple, but I had never seen anything like that. When Sting came back and did the dark, spooky crow gimmick, to hook a guy backwards and then DDT him, I thought that's a murder charge. That's not a wrestling move. The only time I was that impressed with a move after that was the first time I saw P.D. Williams do a Canadian Destroyer, which now everybody and their brother does Canadian Destroyers. But the first time I saw that, I'm like, who did what to who there?
Yeah. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, the first, and I was already a professional wrestler at that time, and I happened to be watching a TNA weekly pay-per-view and saw PD do it. And I'm like, how do you have that conversation? How do you walk up to the brother you're working and be like, all right, so man, I got this idea. I'm going to hook you for a pile driver, but I'm going to do a front flip, causing you to do a back flip, and we're going to land in a pop. No, how about no? How about not this guy?
And now they do it.
And now everybody does it.
Still don't get.
Yeah. And you ask move that I just don't like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff I don't like to take, but I hate German suplexes. I absolutely despise them because I don't want to take. I'm not. I don't like it. I've taken 2. I have been a wrestler for 23 years, and I have taken 2 German suplexes. And the last one I took. So the last one I took was from a young man named Dalton Davis. We're talking in the back, not to give anything away. We're talking, and he says, "Brother, man, I got this thing. I want to do this bit, bam, boom, and you stumble out and take a German." And I'm like, nah, I don't think so. Well, through the course of talking to this kid, he let it go. He didn't push. We sat and we talked for about another 45 minutes. We got ready to go out, and I'm like, "Hey, D, that thing you wanted to do, out of the corner, let's do it. Let's do the German." And that was probably the safest I've ever felt in that situation. That kid's great. I think Dalton Davis doesn't get the love that he's owed.
Yeah, I like Dalton a lot. I've seen him quite a bit early on when we first was going to shows. I haven't seen him quite as much recently, but yeah, he's good.
I think he's Terre Haute based. Don't quote me on that. So we've had him at New Era a time or two, and I've seen him at Summit, I believe.
I was going to say, I think we've seen him at New Era
You know, that we see,
And
you know,
then we've seen him at.
we seen him at DCCW
yeah.
early on in that tag team with. He just wrestled
Levi.
Levi. Him and Jason Levi were a tag team together. The Knockout Society. The first couple DCCW shows, they were their champions. We seen him quite a bit.
Okay, I was confusing Jason Levi with Levi Everett. I'm like, wow, that's a weird tag team. But no, Jason Levi.
Jason Levi. Yeah.
I've been hitting the head a few times, man. Come on.
But when you were saying like that, when he was talking about that spot, and you were like, "No, does that happen a lot when you guys get together? Like one guy wanting to do something, and the other guy be like, "No, that's not happening."
Not as much as you would think. Nah, I don't think it happens all that often. Especially in this area, we've got so much good talent. So many of the guys are just phenomenal, and everybody knows everybody. I mean, even if it's somebody you haven't seen in 6 months, like me waving off the German was a me thing. It had nothing to do with Dalton, or just not a fan of it, don't like it. But after, like I said, after talking with him, I looked at him and said, "Listen, let's put it in. Let's do it anyway." I feel completely safe and comfortable. And I'm not going to lie. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that it was my ring. It wasn't somebody else's ring that we did it in. Because
you know what you're landing on.
Yeah. I'm not worried about the ring exploding or falling through a piece of it.
What's the best piece of advice you received in the wrestling business?
The best piece of advice?
Yes.
And
that could be somebody told you as a promoter or as a wrestler or as a trainer, anything that would come to mind.
I think the best advice I ever got was don't do it. But honestly, I think the best real advice I got was make everything you do matter. Everything from how you walk and carry yourself to how you talk, the types of strikes you throw, and the moves you do, make everything matter.
What do you love about the wrestling business, and what do you dislike about the wrestling business?
I can do that real quick in just 2 sentences. I love professional wrestling. I hate sports entertainment. It's that easy. I'm not out here trying to make a movie. I'm not trying to sell you on a straight to DVD release. I want you to come out and be invested in the physical theater, the one take, one shot, live action movie that is pro wrestling. Because when it's done right, pro wrestling is the best form of performance art there is in the world.
Do you watch any of the new stuff that's out now?
I have not watched wrestling in almost 20 years. Okay. Every now and then, my son will have something he wants to show me, or we'll watch a pay-per-view every now and then. Here at the house, we'll have like a WrestleMania party. It's an excuse to get together. We'll put it on the big TV and we'll watch it. This was the first year in 5 years we didn't all get together and watch the Royal Rumble. But I've not been a fan of the WWE's product in ever. Not that it's bad. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah. I mean, I understand.
I've heard good things about what's going on in AEW, but I've also heard bad things. When my kids ask me questions about the current product, I have to tell them I don't know. You send me a clip, send me something you want me to see, and I'll tell you what I think about it. But
I think
go ahead.
I think if you like old school wrestling right now, probably the program would be best for you would be NWA.
NWA Power. That's yeah.
Yep. That'd probably be the closest thing.
From what I've seen of that, they're doing that old school studio style, get that old pro wrestling from the Omni look about it.
Yep.
I don't watch unless I have a reason to. I am at the academy 4 nights a week. I have a Monday, Wednesday class and a Tuesday, Thursday class. I have a wrestling show or a ring rental every weekend. That only leaves Fridays, and I got a wife. I've got a young son. I work, at least 40 hours a week, plus training, plus trying to be a husband and a father, and a son. So no, I don't watch a lot of TV. As a matter of fact, I can't tell you the last time that I personally picked up the remote and turned my TV on. And I think a lot of that was because of how I was raised. Like I said, when I was younger, we didn't have television. We had like a 13-inch black and white TV, but we didn't have cable or even an antenna.
One thing that you would change about the wrestling business if you could.
Just one?
Well, you can get more than one.
I think I would tighten up the gatekeeping and who we let into our business and who we keep out. I would have never pulled the curtain back so far as Vince did in the late 80s that exposed and killed kayfabe. I would have kept some of the magic alive. I've said 100 times that the internet has both saved and hurt pro wrestling insurmountably. The internet allows so many people to see so much wrestling from all over the world that they would have never been exposed to. But at the same time, I feel that it hurts professional wrestling because why am I going to pay to go to a live show when I can hit click, 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 click and watch it on my phone for free the next day? Or someone's got their phone out recording it live as it happens. The old expression, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. We can't undo what's already been done. So I try to make the live event something that, I can watch it on the computer. I can watch it on TV. I can watch it on my phone, but being there live is what matters. The experience, the in-person is what I've tried to focus on.
I agree with that. And you guys do a good job too. You guys have great shows.
Thank you. We at New Era don't have an internet presence. You guys, I remember where can I see footage of your stuff? You can't. You want to see a New Era show, you got to come to see a New Era show. You don't get to watch it the next day. You don't get to see it on the YouTubes or the TikToks. We have a social media manager, and she does a great job about keeping our fans informed about our shows. But as far as the product itself, you got to come see it to believe it. You don't get to watch it secondhand. For now.
People you would like to work with in the ring or also book that you haven't?
Man. I'm going to be the first one to say it. My time between the ropes is limited. I know I'm on my way out. That's a tough one. I'd like a good solid program with my son.
Yeah, that would be good.
I'll tell you what, from the time that we've first saw him in the ring to now, the improvements that he has made has been great to watch.
Oh, don't go blowing up the kid's ego any more than it already is. But no, I would love to have a good program with my son. I would love to go back and work one more solid match with Chris Icon. I'd say I'd like to square off with Hillbilly Jed another time, but man, I don't know if I got another one of those. I don't think I have another Hillbilly Jed ass whooping in me.
You seen that Hillbilly Jed, Calvin Tank?
I love Jed to death. Some of the best matches I've ever had have been across from that man.
Oh yeah, we're both big Jed fans as well, and I know what match you was getting ready to talk about, him and Tankman.
Oh my gosh,
it was fantastic.
That I was there for that match. I was backstage. I was there for a rental, And wow, just wow.
Yeah. When he went through that chair bent back. I've never seen a chair bent back like that. Oh,
Chance.
Favorite match that you've had, and also your favorite opponent.
Favorite match. I have a favorite match that never should have happened. It was the first time we decided to try to incorporate some sports entertainment to a Damian Cole match, to a King of the Arcade match. I got with the Sound Girl, and I wrestled the whole match with the Power Glove on. And it was a one-off show for a church. It was a fundraiser. And we did the whole bit where I would pause the match mid-match, and she would play the pause sound from Super Mario Brothers. And I walked up, I paused the kid right before he hit me, and I hit him, and he didn't sell. He didn't move, like a statue. And I hit him again. He didn't move. And I hit him a third time. Then I'm like, oh, yeah. And I unpause it, and the kid flies across the ring. We did 5 or 6 spots like that in probably a 15-minute match. And it was legitimately just a fun match. And I've never had another one like it, because I've never had another guy in the ring with that was okay with doing something that hokey. And we'd never had a situation where like everybody that needed to be in on it understood what the play. Everybody understood the assignment. You know what I mean? Because a situation like that, or a match like that, to do those kind of spots, everybody's got to be on the same page. The Sound Girl, the light guy, everybody's got to know what's going on. It has a lot of moving pieces, and it worked one time for me, and I'm happy with it. What was the second part? I'm sorry.
Favorite opponent.
Favorite opponent of all time. I love wrestling Hillbilly Jed, and I love wrestling Aaron Anarchy. Talk about two different sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I love wrestling Jed, and I love wrestling Anarchy.
Favorite match that you've promoted, and favorite show that you've promoted.
Favorite show that I've promoted. Man, that's tough. I've been promoting literally for 20 years. New Era has ran monthly, every month, except for during the year 2020 for COVID, we took 9 shows off. I couldn't, and I can take no credit for any of it. Our booking committee and our writing staff kill it every month. So much work goes on behind the scenes that they don't get credit for, that the fans don't know about. But our booker does an amazing job of putting together just solid top to bottom shows. But I can't pick one. I can't.
Okay.
How long have you guys been running there at the Boys and Girls Club?
12 years? 12 years sounds about right.
See, from the outside kind of looking in, I think that would, to me, seem like that's one of the problems you see is people run into, is finding a building that they can get and secure and keep.
When we very, very first started, the Boys Club's what we wanted. But they didn't want us at the time. So we went to the fairgrounds. We went to the Sanctuary of Shelbyville, which is the old armory here in town, the old downtown armory. We were at the Civic Center for a while. We were out in St. Paul at the old Paul Cross Gymnasium out there. And one of the partners was working at the Shelbyville paper, and they got in tight with the sports editor, and the sports editor arranged a sit-down meeting between the 3 of us that were left, the 3 owners that were left at the time, and the director of the club. And we came to an agreement and he said he'd give us like a 1-year trial, and it went well, and we've been there ever since. And I sat down with the new director of the club. Scott Spar has been with the Shelbyville Boys and Girls Club for a while, but he's now the I guess you call him the director of the Shelbyville club, and he also oversees the Waldron and the Morristown club. But we've agreed to continue our relationship with the Shelbyville Boys and Girls Club indefinitely. We're going to be there as long as they'll have us.
That's a nice facility.
Yeah, it is. They take amazing care of us, and in turn, we try to do everything we can for the club. We go to fundraisers. We donate. Every year, the New Era Wrestling holds our. Excuse me, a little tongue tied. We hold our giving back show in November, and we donate 100% of the proceeds. All the wrestlers donate their time. Every dime that comes through the door, that comes through concessions, that comes through the raffles, that comes through donations, goes straight to the Boys and Girls Club. And we give that to them as a thank you. And we give that to them right there, the third week of November, right going into the holidays. We give the club the largest donation of the year from us anyway, right before the holidays, so the club can use it as they see fit.
We were. I've actually been at that show the last 2 years. That was the first show we ever came to of yours, and then we were there this last November.
Right.
For it as well.
It's a big show. We like. It's not just I can't put any of that on me. That every wrestler on the card donates their time. All the volunteers, the girls that go out and do fundraising, all the sponsors, and the hundreds of hours we spend beating the pavement to get the donations so we can cover expenses and still give the club a large chunk of money at the end of the year when they need it most. Because if you've ever done any kind of fundraising, the end of the year, that budget's dwindled down quite a bit. Start pinching pennies come, October, November.
I saw that you guys had a sellout your last show last month.
Yeah, the Headlocks and Heartbreaks was completely and totally sold out. There was not a seat left in the building, standing room only. And Headlocks and Heartbreaks was the 1 year anniversary of the return of women's wrestling to New Era Wrestling. We had a really strong women's roster. Several years ago, we had Cameron Starr, Miss Heidi Lovelace, Ruby Riott when she was in the area monthly. Thunder Kitty, Mickey Knuckles, women that worked for us consistently on a rotation. But as things do in our business, times change and people move on and move up, and great for them. But it made it very hard for us to maintain a women's division. So a year ago in February, we brought women's wrestling back. And 2 weeks ago at Headlocks and Heartbreaks 2023, we celebrated a 1 year return of women's wrestling at New Era.
Is it hard as a promoter or a booker? Is it harder to? I know there's more men wrestlers around than there is women wrestlers. So is it harder to find the women to book to get on your show?
That would be an awesome question if I booked the talent. I will say this as the promoter, as the guy, I do work a little more tight knit with the booking committee when it comes to the women, because it's a much larger expense. Everybody knows women wrestlers are a commodity. They're an attraction. So yeah, it's not like the booker can just book, any other wrestler. He knows what is a fair and acceptable price for a wrestler. But when a woman throws out a number, he's like, "Hey boss, let's talk about this." So I'm a little more involved when it comes to the booking and of the women, just because it is a bigger risk financially.
Did you have a favorite pro wrestler growing up?
I did. I was a huge Sting fan. Like I said, I'd moved to Florida, and I was infatuated with the beach and we went every Sunday to Cocoa Beach, right outside of right off A1A there in Cocoa, and I had a flat top, and I wanted to be Sting. That was the wrestler I wanted to be. I could never convince my mom to let me bleach it, but I had the flat top with the rat tail, and
Chris was a big Sting fan. Also, growing up as a kid.
I've never hidden the fact that growing up, my family was not very well off. When we moved to Florida, a lot of things like that changed, and the first wrestling toy that I ever got was a bendy Sting, and it came in a 2-pack with Lex Luger. But Lex Luger looked nothing like Lex Luger. He was just a blonde guy in black trunks. So when I would play with my wrestlers, sometimes he was Lex Luger, sometimes he was Ric Flair, sometimes he was Barry Windham, but Sting always won.
This may be the same answer. I'm gonna ask you that. If you had an opportunity to get in the ring with anybody, I mean, I'm talking from the past, fantasy opponent. Hey, we're gonna give you a arena. It's your match, 5,000 people. Who would you pick?
Anybody but me to be in it. No, yeah, the little mark that lives deep down inside my heart says it would have to be like Surfer era Sting, or maybe like 96, 97 Crow Sting, where he still hadn't spoke. I've met a lot of really cool people in the business, and my bucket list for people to meet is very, very small. And Sting is on that list. I don't know what I'd do if I ever met him besides just shake his hand. I got to meet Nikita Koloff when I was very, very young in the business at a church function, and Nikita and I spent the entirety of the evening talking pro wrestling when he was supposed to be giving us not necessarily a sermon, but he was there on a church engagement. And when he found out through the minister, who was my cousin, that I was also a pro wrestler, Nikita and I sat in the back of the dining hall and spoke pro wrestling for hours. So yeah, I would love to maybe wrestle Nikita or Sting. Yeah, Diamond Dallas Page would be another one if I was gonna. I think Page is an amazing talent, and he's somebody that just kind of captivated the everyman perfectly in the 90s.
Yeah, especially considering that he started so late in his career. I mean, he was not a young man when he started, and what he accomplished was pretty great.
He's still doing great things. DDP Yoga is helping so many guys, men and women across the world, and I see a lot of wrestlers, even a lot of us indie guys are using DDP Yoga to maybe repair some of the damage that we inflicted upon ourselves by taking really, really bad bumps and taking stupid matches early on in our careers.
Have you had the opportunity to work any of the names, like guys that had been in bigger companies?
No, sir. That's never been my spot on the card. That's not for me. I'm very comfortable with every match I've ever had. I'm well aware of who I am and where I belong on a show, and putting me against a TV name isn't going to do any good. It's not going to do anything for anybody. Those are the spots that need to be reserved for the guys that are about to make that next level step. And at this point, this juncture in my career, that's not me. So I wouldn't waste that match. I'd give that match to a Jake Carter or to a Braden Lee.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to ask you that, and you can, you said Braden Lee because I know he's wrestling for you, and Jake Carter, but out there on the independent scene, what names, if you're willing to give, who do you think are ready to have that opportunity to go that next level? Is there any names that you can think?
There's so many guys right now that are just on that cusp of greatness, and I think the Indianapolis area has a lot of them. I'm not going to say names or this or that because I don't want to maybe offend somebody. Hey, you didn't get my name out there, but no, this area, the Midwest in general, has always just been so saturated. And at this point in time, I believe that we're saturated with really, really good, capable talent.
There's a lot of good talent. We just been what now? About a year and a half now.
The last 2 years have just been amazing. I mean, look at guys like Levi Everett. That guy, I was introduced to him, and I'm like, he's Amish, and he's a wrestler. It's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of great talent out there.
And you don't have to be a body. This is not 1987. You don't have to be 7 foot tall, 300 pounds of shredded lean muscle. There is a spot for everybody out there. And I think the national market has realized that you don't have to be 7 foot tall and built like Arnold Schwarzenegger to be an amazing professional wrestler, to tell a great story in physical theater.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. That it's starting to get nationally that more people are accepting the fact that you don't have to be that big guy.
I mean, there's always going to be a market for the big guys.
Yeah.
The big guys are always going to have a place. But I think now that it is more of an exhibition in athleticism. The cat's out of the bag. Wrestling's not real. Nobody wants to see a 40-minute chin lock anymore. So the guys that are going to put on the entertaining matches, the Young Bucks, stuff like that, stuff that just would never have flown 20 years ago, is what's captivating the next generation of wrestling fans. Watching these guys that are acrobats in physical theater.
Being old school like you are, how do you feel about that?
I love it.
I have a hard time with it. I'm gonna be honest.
I do too. I really do. But I've come to terms with the fact that wrestling has to grow. Wrestling has to evolve.
Yep.
I think maybe some guys take it a little too far, but there's something for everybody out there right now. There's something for the wrestling purist. There's something for the theatrical kid. There's something for the guy that loves over-the-top characters. There's something for the body guys. I mean, there's literally something out there for everybody. Yeah, yes, Marcus Fine hit it nail on the head. It rounds out the show to have a variety of sizes and abilities. Thank you, sir. That's why you're the number one wrestling fan in the area.
Yep, no doubt about that. Yeah, I still watch wrestling. I watch it every night, and if I'm not watching a new show, I'm watching old stuff on the network. Even AEW, I watch every Wednesday night. It's not my cup of tea, but they give me enough where I go back every week. There's some stuff I don't like, and there's some stuff I don't like in WWE. There's stuff I don't like in NWA. There's stuff I don't like in Impact. I mean, that's perfect. But
I can sum it up for you like this. You guys have both seen me wrestle. I assume the majority of the fans of the Gonzo'S Sports Show have. You know what I hate? What I cannot stand? Brace yourselves. I hate comedy wrestling. It does not entertain me in the least. But it's what I do. I'm a comedic wrestler. I am. I know I am. I'm not. It doesn't offend me when somebody says, "Well, you're a comedy actor." Well, yeah, I am, and I'm damn good at it. But I dare challenge anybody to match my fundamentals and my psychology in the ring while I'm doing comedy. But no, like if you'd have told me when I was 19 years old that I was going to be a comedy wrestler, that's fighting words.
Decision you made in your best decision you made in your wrestling career, and the worst decision you made in your wrestling career. And that can be from wrestling or promoting, training, whatever.
Worst decision I made was taking the big stupid bumps and bleeding when I didn't need to, getting color every night just because it was the easy way to get over instead of learning the psychology. And the best thing that I ever did was accepted my physical limitations and accepted that I was good at a certain type of wrestling. It may not have been what I wanted to do. It may not have been what I like to watch. But some of the best wrestlers that I ever watched growing up were very limited in what they did, and they were still my favorites. So instead of trying to be the next Rob Van Dam or going out there and trying to be the next, Chris Canyon and trying to be this huge innovator of wrestling offense, I learned to keep it simple and to really buckle down on the fundamentals and the building blocks of wrestling, where I could have a great match with anybody and not just somebody else that was a flippy guy or a chain wrestling genius. But when my eyes were opened up to wrestling psychology and the foundations and fundamentals of wrestling, if you know the basics, if you have a strong knowledge of the foundation and the fundamentals, you can go out there and have a great match with anybody.
Yeah, that's something you said. Keep it simple. That's something that Bully Ray says all the time. He said, "Keep it simple, stupid."
Yeah.
That's something he says all the time.
I think I said that at my last training session with my 13-week kids, and they thought it was an insult because I called them stupid.
Yeah,
But kids, man, keep it simple, stupid. You don't have to, be out here doing Chinese arithmetic. 1 + 1 = 4.
Well, we went to a seminar with the Rock and Roll Express.
Oh yeah,
and that's the same thing. Morton said the whole seminar is keep it simple. You don't have to, like you said, make everything mean something. Everything you should do should mean something. You shouldn't have extra stuff in there if it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Why are we doing this? Everything you do. Like I was trying to explain this to a very young kid the other day. And I said, think of everything that you do takes away a piece from a pie. Every time you pick your feet up, every time you move a body part, you're taking a sliver of that pie away. Limit what you do. That way the pieces of the pie that you have are bigger. Make what you do mean something. And if you're doing it 1,000,000 miles an hour, it's just going to become white noise. It's bump, 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 move, 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 move. I always try to equate wrestling and what I do in the ring to that little kid sitting in the 5th row. He's got to see you hit a guy or execute a maneuver, and he's got to pull on his dad's arm and be like, "Hey, Dad, did you just see that?" And then look back to see what you're going to do next. But if you've already done 5 things, he missed it, and now he's lost interest.
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a real good way to put it.
Yeah.
Because that's true.
Do something and let it resonate, and let the audience digest what happened before you try to shove something else down their throat.
Yeah, that's been one of the complaints with AEW that I have, and I know Bully Ray said many times, they go so fast. I mean, the whole show. I mean, from match to segment. I mean, they go 100 miles a minute, and you can't digest it.
You gotta let it breathe a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta let it breathe a little bit and make the stuff mean something. And that's
Exactly.
one thing that they've struggled with.
And again, I'm nobody. I'm just giving out my 2 cents. I'm sure there are a million guys out there that think otherwise, and they're welcome to their opinion. And they said, I'm just a kid from Shelbyville, Indiana that got lucky. I ain't nobody. I don't know nothing. I just know what seemed to work for me.
I got a question here that I've been giving out, and I've been stumping everybody. I'm going to see if it stumps you or if you can come up with your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
Mount Rushmore of wrestling. We're going to go with 4 faces, correct?
Yep, correct.
We've got Bruno Sammartino. He was the last true wrestling champion. You got Harley Race, because he was the first real world champion. Next to Harley Race, we're going to put, God help me, Hulk Hogan, because he brought wrestling to the mainstream. And next to Hogan, Andre the Giant, because he was the last true attraction in wrestling. That's my Mount Rushmore.
Pretty good. I mean,
no, you like it because you like Bruno. You're a big Bruno fan as well.
Yeah, well, I'm a big Bruno.
Now,
Well, all of them. I mean, it's hard.
Rushmore is different, but that if I was in charge of building a Mount Rushmore's type monument that paid homage and did justice to professional wrestling, it would be Bruno, Harley, Hogan, and Andre.
And you can definitely make an argument for that. I can't disagree with. I mean, there's so many names that you could, but I mean, I get where you're coming from. Definitely.
No, you could probably. No, if we're just saying a Mount Rushmore, yeah, Bruno for being the last real wrestling champion, for Harley for being the first real world's champion, Hogan for bringing wrestling out of the bingo halls and the armories into the mainstream and onto cable television, and then Andre the Giant for being the last of the true attractions. The last, well, he was the eighth wonder of the world. He was a show in himself. So that's my Rushmore. And I don't even like it because I don't. But you can't argue facts.
Yep, that's true. Do you have any? I know you're so busy, so you may not. Do you have any hobbies?
I like to play video games on the off chance that I get them. I like to. Well, speaking of so busy, like my phone is going off. Like you have class at 7. You've got this at. I like to travel. I love getting in the car and driving across this great country of ours. I love hopping on a plane with my wife and going out to Vegas. And
I know you go to Vegas quite a bit, don't you?
Yes, we do. We try to go to Vegas about every 3 months, and that's our reset. We go out there, and we don't go out there to do all the crazy Vegas stuff. We don't do the nightlife. We gamble a little bit, but we go out there. We enjoy the food. We enjoy each other. We enjoy just going and shutting off our responsibilities for 5 to 8 days. And I believe that's something that a lot of guys in our business don't have. They don't have that ability to shut off. It's wrestle, wrestle, wrestle. They don't have a downtime. And I don't for, 95 days, and then I take 5 off.
Yeah.
It's hard with the academy doing as well as it is. I've got classes 4 nights a week. So if I'm going to be gone for 5 days, I've got to find co-coaches or guest coaches. There are people that rely on me for other shows. My ring and my equipment are used at a good 75% of the professional wrestling events in central Indiana and southern Indiana. So there's a lot of moving pieces in order for me to just, as everybody seems to think, just jump up and go to Vegas at the drop of a hat. There's a lot of moving pieces in order for me to have that downtime.
Favorite food?
I'm a burger guy. I love a good cheeseburger. This is my wife and I were just talking about this yesterday. I have had a burger at every high-end burger joint in Vegas, ranging from like Gordon Ramsay burger to Burger Bar to Wahlburgers.
What's your favorite burger?
Favorite burger is a black and blue burger from Off Broadway Burger in New York, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, that is my all-time favorite burger for now until I find the next one.
Okay. Did you just I don't know if I can remember the place. It was and they actually didn't make it. It was an Indy
B spot.
The B spot. Did you ever have the opportunity? It was Michael Simon's place. Did you ever have the opportunity to go there?
I did not.
Yeah, it was very good, and I don't know what happened. I know that they closed up in the middle of the night, and employees didn't know they were closing and left. But
man, that sounds a little scary.
Yeah, we'd been there a few times, and it was always pretty busy, and the food was great. So I don't know what happened.
That's what we do. We go to Vegas. We go to Vegas to eat and drink. We don't go for. I do enjoy a little gaming, and the wife enjoys, some of the shopping aspects of it. But we go to eat. We're foodies.
Yeah, I am too. I'm a big barbecue guy, so
Yeah.
It's got to be really good.
That's when he goes to Vegas. That's why he goes for he goes to the food and shows.
yeah, food and,
Yeah,
and shows. My wife shops a little bit. Now, my wife likes to gamble, but it's slot machines, and I get bored too quick. I do like horse racing, so I could go, and bet some horses or something. But
I don't know enough about handicapping horses. I picked the one whose name I like.
Yeah, yeah. And I've seen a lot of people do that and win, and I get pissed off because here I am trying to.
You have a
said,
system to win, and people just come up. I like that name.
I like that color.
I bet the farm on a horse named Future Glue once.
Future Glue. Toughest match you've ever been in, and that could be physically, that could be where things just went wrong, that could be whatever, and also the easiest match where just everything went perfect.
Do they ever go perfect? I'm not a big talk out your match guy. I'm definitely a walk and talk. Call it as you go. So my best matches are ones where I'm in there with the guy that can do that. I've had great matches with Hillbilly Jed because of that. I had some amazing matches with TJ Powers 10, 15 years ago. A guy that's not around these parts anymore, Dash Venture, and I had a really good match at Emerge 1. Hardest match is anytime I'm in there with somebody that doesn't listen, that doesn't understand what they're doing, who doesn't want to listen or doesn't want to be, that thinks they know better. And I'm not saying no better than me. It's somebody younger that's just, they got a million spots they're going to do, and they're going to do them even if it doesn't make sense. Those make for a long night at the office. When you're trying to slow somebody down that's going 6 million miles an hour and want to do 50. Been to the Heart Attack Grill. It's not that great.
Any
huge. Don't get me. I had a double heart attack with quadruple cheese. It was more food than I cared to put away, but.
How was the Gordon? I got a grandson who's a huge Gordon Ramsay fan. How was the Gordon Ramsay?
Gordon Ramsay burger was a Gordon Ramsay burger.
A huge.
That's in Planet Hollywood.
Yeah, we're getting one Gordon Ramsay restaurant here in Southern Indiana soon.
Really?
One of the casinos. It's what I think it's maybe a steak place. I know it's a more high end place. It's not a burger place.
Yeah, there's Gordon Ramsay fish and chips. There's Gordon Ramsay burger. There's Gordon Ramsay steak. I mean,
it may be the steak place. I know it's going to be a high end place.
Yeah, my son loves anything Gordon Ramsay. He's all about that.
Me and my wife hadn't been out to Vegas for a few years, but the last time we was out there, we always hit the Bobby Flay restaurant. We'd hit it. A couple times we ate there 2 or 3 times, and it was pretty good.
So out at Vegas, away from the burger topic, but the best steakhouse I've ever eaten at is Oscar's inside the Plaza there on Fremont Street. The Plaza, fun fact, was the hotel they used for Biff's Pleasure Palace and Back to the Future 2. But the steakhouse inside the Plaza is amazing.
Any style of match that which you've been doing it so long, so there may not be that you would like to do or like to promote that you haven't yet?
At this point, in this juncture, I think I've done about every type. Nope, that's a lie. I just caught myself. I've never wrestled a ladder match, and I've never wrestled in a steel cage match, me personally. Because
have you desire to do that?
Maybe once before I'm done. I don't think my character, my style necessarily lends itself to those kind of matches, so I've never had a need to. Those type of matches are usually made for big blow-offs at the end of a big feud or for a championship, and that's not anything that I'm really I'm pursuing or have pursued for myself for years. My job's to go out there and entertain the fans and make a young guy look good or help get somebody over that needs a little push getting over.
Well, you do a good job of it, because I got a nephew who started off with Chris that was doing the wrestling stuff, and the first time they seen you, didn't know anything about you guys come out to 8-Bit Punks, and he's again, he wasn't a wrestling fan. He was just doing more sports, and then they went to the wrestling shows, and he loved it. I mean, he just come unglued. You know, you guys entertained him completely. So, so you guys do a great job.
That's what we aim to do.
Have you ever done any of the death matches?
I am not a deathmatch wrestler. No, sir. I've done some hardcore, and early in my career, I got my fair share of color, but I stayed away from razor wire and broken glass and hepatitis.
Yeah. That stuff. Some of that stuff's out there, a little crazy for my. But I'd like to go watch one live. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been to one live, so I'd like to go watch one live.
I don't want to be in the front row.
Yeah, I think I'm fine. No thanks. And see, I have a weird dual plane with that. Is like you said, I'd like to go watch one, and even if I did, I wouldn't, because those are my friends and those are my brothers and sisters out there, and I don't want to see those. Like I preach, one of my favorite young guys right now is Eric Dillinger. And I tell him, why, Bubba? Why? You're so talented as a wrestler. You ain't got to do death matches. But he loves them. So
yeah, he does them. Cole Radrick is doing a lot of them.
Don't get me started on Cole. I've known Cole since he was still wet behind the ears.
Another one. I mean,
I'm so proud of everything that Cole Radrick has done, but I'm proud of him, and I'll just leave it at that. I'm proud of Cole Radrick. I'm happy for him. I'm glad to see little brother out there doing good things. Now, I hate to be this guy, but it is 20 till 7, and I have to get to class tonight. I've got a 7 o'clock class.
I just got through all my questions, so.
Oh, well, that's perfect.
We're good to go. Yeah,
I'm having such a good time, but.
Hey, you're more welcome. Come back on anytime.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely hook up again.
Did you want to plug your wrestling school and the New Era stuff before we get out of here?
Their New Era Wrestling out of Shelbyville, Indiana. Next event is March 18th, Shamrock Shakedown at the Boys and Girls Club. First responders and kids are always free because we are a family-friendly show. And as for aspiring wrestlers, the New Era Wrestling Academy out on the north side of Shelbyville. Facebook.com/New Era Wrestling Academy and Facebook.com/New Era Wrestling 46176. And thank you guys so much for the opportunity to come on here and talk with you and cut up and talk wrestling and food. And
like I said, you're welcome to come back anytime. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
it only took me 3 weeks to get here, but I'm here.
Well, we appreciate your time, man, and I really loved it. I had a great time. So
I did
like
too.
You said, anytime you want to come back on.
And I'm sure we're probably going to see you here this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to see you guys at Summit. Speaking of this Sunday Summit, the 8-Bit Punks take on the Sharp Brothers March 5th. Yep, we'll be there.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
We appreciate coming on. See you Sunday.
See ya.
Yep. Have a good night.
Before we get out here real quick, don't forget, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Gonzo's Sports Room and at the All Sports All Plays Network. Also, tomorrow we have an interview with pro wrestler Justin Danger. Pro wrestler Justin Danger tomorrow at 6:30, and then on Thursday we're gonna have pro wrestler Nick Diamond at 6:30, and then like we were just talking, Sunday we're gonna be live at Summit Pro.
Yep.
So got a busy week ahead. Hey, how's it going, Hollywood?
Hey, Hollywood, man, how's it going?
Always nice to see Hollywood in the comments.
And also, I don't know when, but the next couple weeks or soon, we're going to have a big announcement. We can't really say yet until we given the okay to.
Yeah.
But we got a huge announcement coming for Gonzo's wrestling room. Got to do with the wrestling, so be looking out for that.
Yeah.
But it's huge news.
Yeah, follow us on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, all at Gonzo Sports Room. That's where we post everything about all of our shows. And you can find information on the All Sports All Plays Network as well. We appreciate everybody joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Damian Michael Cole. I enjoyed it.
I did. I thought it was great.
I thought it was real interesting and learned some stuff.
Yep.
Learned some stuff I don't know. I mean, because we get to talk to Damian. We see him about once a month.
Yep.
Most months about once a month. sometimes more than that, but usually about once a month. So we do get a chance to talk to him some. But this was the first time really getting to sit down and just cut loose a little bit.
And real quick, check out their shows in Shelbyville. They usually run the third week of the month. New Era does a great job. They're really good promotion, really good matches. The Boys and Girls Club there in Shelbyville is a great facility, great family entertainment. So definitely go check them out.
And I know you can go to their Facebook page and get more information because you can get advanced tickets and stuff. Because I know, like I said, last show was standing room only.
Yeah, if you really like
I know the last time we were there was basically standing room only.
They even sell a season pass at a reduced price. And
that's a real good deal.
And the VIP deals and front row deals, they have some really cool deals. So definitely check it out.
But we appreciate everybody joining us. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 6:30 with pro wrestler Justin Danger. We appreciate Damian Cole coming on tonight. See you guys tomorrow. Hope everybody has a great night.